was tired. 8 months of sitting in meeting rooms, talking to aliens who spoke in circles, had drained every bit of energy from his body. He was a diplomat, not a warrior, but some days he felt like he had been fighting a war with nothing but words and patience. The Nexus station was huge. It floated in deep space like a city made of metal and light. Dozens of alien species came here to trade, to talk, and to make deals. Had seen things that would have amazed him a year ago. Now he just wanted to find a quiet corner and close his eyes for a few minutes. He walked away from the main corridors, past the busy markets and the loud bars, until he found a small observation deck. It was empty except for the stars outside the window and a patch of warm light falling from the ceiling. The station's artificial sun had created a perfect sunbeam on the floor. And in that sunbeam, something was sleeping. Stopped and stared. It was a big creature, about the size of a large dog but shaped like a panther. Its fur was black as space itself, smooth and shining. It had pointed ears with small tufts of fur at the tips. A long tail lay curled around its body. His heart ached with sudden homesickness. Back on his colony world, his family had kept cats. Real Earth cats, descended from the ones that had traveled with the first colonists. Had grown up with a big orange tabby named Rusty who would sleep in sunbeams just like this. The creature looked so peaceful, so soft. Knew he should walk away. He knew that alien life forms were unpredictable. He had sat through dozens of briefings about proper protocol when encountering unknown species. But he was so tired, and the creature reminded him so much of home. He walked closer slowly, quietly. The creature did not move. Its breathing was slow and even, knelt down beside it. Up close he could see that its fur was not quite like a cat's fur. It had a faint shimmer to it like oil on water. He reached out and scratched gently behind one of those tufted ears. The fur was softer than anything he had ever touched. The creature made a sound deep in its chest, a rumbling vibration that felt in his own bones. A purr. It was purring. Smiled for the first time in weeks. He scratched a little more, finding the spot where the ear met the skull, the place that cats always loved. Then the creature's eyes opened. They were not cat eyes. They were the eyes of a predator, amber-colored with vertical pupils that contracted in the light. They held intelligence. They held surprise. They held something else that could not name. The purring did not stop. "Bold," said the creature, and felt his blood turn to ice. It could speak. This was not an animal. This was a person. Foolish. The voice was deep and female with a slight growl underneath the words. Interesting. Tried to pull his hand back, but the creature moved faster than his eyes could follow. One moment it was lying in the sunbeam. The next moment was on his back on the floor, and the creature was on top of him. She was heavy, much heavier than she looked. Her front paws pressed down on his shoulders, and he could feel claws pricking through his uniform jacket. Her face was inches from his. He could see every detail now. The whiskers, the fangs, the way her ears had flattened against her skull. But she was still purring. "Do you know what you have done, little human?" she asked. Her breath was warm and smelled like spices. "I'm sorry," said. His voice came out as a whisper. "I thought you were. I didn't know. You touched a huntress without invitation." Her tail swept across the floor behind her. "You put your hands on me like I was your property, like I was yours." Everyone had heard of them. They were one of the most dangerous species in known space. Apex predators from a death world. Warriors who had never lost a war. He had never seen one before, but he had seen the pictures in the briefing files. He was going to die on this observation deck, because he had petted an alien like a... "Among my people," they said, "there are only two reasons to touch someone the way you touched me. The first is to challenge them to combat." "I wasn't challenging you," said quickly. "I would never." "I know." Her head tilted to one side, studying him. "You carry no weapons. You show no aggression. Your heart beats fast, but not with battle rage. She leaned closer. You touched me with kindness, like I was something precious, something to be comforted. You reminded me of home, admitted. He did not know why he was being honest. Maybe because he was about to die anyway. We have animals on Earth, creatures that look a little like you. We keep them as companions. We love them. When I saw you lying in the sun, I missed home. I'm sorry. There was silent for a long moment. Her purring grew louder. The second reason to touch her, she said finally, is to offer yourself, to declare that you wish to be claimed, to be mine. Felt his stomach drop. That's not what I meant. It does not matter what you meant. Her claws flexed, pressing deeper into his shoulders. Not enough to draw blood, but enough to remind him that she could. What matters is what you did. By our laws, by our oldest traditions, you have offered yourself to me, and I have chosen to accept. What? She lowered her head until her nose touched his. Her eyes filled his entire vision, gold and amber and ancient. Mine, she purred, and the word vibrated through his entire body. The door to the observation deck burst open. Station security poured in, weapons raised, shouting commands in 3 different languages. They did not even look at them. She kept her eyes on, her purr never faltering. The security officers stopped, their weapons lowered, saw fear on their faces but also something else, recognition, understanding. Sir, one of them said carefully, we received an alert about a disturbance. Do you need assistance? Yes, said desperately. Please, there's been a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding. The finally looked at the officers and they all took a step back. This human has been claimed. He belongs to me now. You will not interfere. The lead officer swallowed hard. Ma'am, with respect, he's a human diplomat. We can't just. You will not interfere, she repeated, and this time there was no pretense of politeness. Her voice was pure predator, pure threat. This is law. This is older than your species. This is not negotiable. The officers looked at each other. They looked at, still pinned to the floor. They looked at the who had begun to purr again. Then they holstered their weapons and backed out of the room. Watched them go with a sinking feeling in his chest. The door closed. He was alone with her again. So, he said weakly, what happens now? The smiled, showing all of her fangs. Now, she said, you are mine, and I take very good care of what belongs to me. Her tail curled around his leg, warm and possessive, and realized that his life had just become very complicated. The next 12 hours were the strangest of life. The who finally told him her name was Aura did not let him out of her sight. She did not hurt him. She did not threaten him. But she also did not let him leave. They moved him to a special section of the station, a place where diplomats were kept when situations became complicated. The rooms were nice. There was a soft bed and a window that looked out at the stars. But the door was locked from the outside, and sat in a chair by the window like a guard who had no intention of sleeping. You can't keep me here forever, said. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, too nervous to lie down. I do not intend to keep you here forever, replied. Her tail swayed slowly back and forth, only until things are settled. What does that mean? She did not answer. In the morning, Ambassador arrived. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, and she had been the head of human diplomatic operations on Nexus Station for 15 years. Had never seen her look so worried. Allowed her into the room, but watched her with those golden eyes the entire time. Commander, said carefully, I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Told her, the sunbeam, the creature that looked like a cat, the scratching behind the ears, the pinning to the floor, the word that had changed everything. Closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Do you know who she is? Asked quietly. She said her name is Aura, the youngest daughter of matriarch, ruler of the empire. Opened her eyes. You accidentally claimed a princess, Commander. Felt sick. They have laws that go back thousands of years, continued. Their culture is built on strength, territory, and bonds. To touch one without permission is considered either a challenge to combat or an offer of submission. This declaration of mine is legally binding under their law. You are now considered her claimed mate. Her mate? His voice came out higher than he intended. Can he not be released? Asked directly. His ears twitched. He could be, if I chose to release him. And will you? There was a long pause, looked at with an expression he could not read. No, she said finally, not yet. His jaw tightened. With respect, lady, this could cause serious problems between our species. Humanity has never had formal contact with the... If it appears that you have taken one of our diplomats by force. I have taken nothing by force, stood, and even though she was shorter than she somehow seemed to fill the entire room. He offered himself. The touch was gentle, without aggression, without fear. Among my people such a touch is sacred. It is rare. It is precious. Her voice softened. No one has ever touched me like that, not in my entire life. Stared at her. What do you mean? Turned to face him. Her tail had stopped swaying. Her ears were slightly back, a position that was beginning to understand meant uncertainty. I am a princess, she said, daughter of the matriarch. Since the day I was born, everyone who has touched me has wanted something. Power, favor, alliance. Every touch has been calculated, every kindness has been a transaction. She walked toward him slowly, and forced himself not to lean away. But you, she said, you saw me and thought I was beautiful. You wanted to give me comfort, nothing more. You touched me because you thought it would make me happy. She stopped in front of him. Do you understand how rare that is? How valuable? Swallowed hard. I was tired. I missed home. I wasn't thinking about politics or power. I just saw something that reminded me of good times and I wanted to be close to it. Yes, his voice was almost a whisper. Exactly. You wanted nothing from me. You only wanted to give. She reached out and touched his face with one clawed finger, so gently that he barely felt it. That is why I will not release you. That is why I wish to understand you and your strange, soft species. The door opened again. A junior officer stood there looking terrified. Ambassador, he said, there's a situation. A warship has just entered the system. They're requesting permission to dock. His entire body went rigid. Her ears flattened, her claws extended. Which ship? She demanded. The officer looked at his tablet. They identify themselves as the Crimson Fang. They say, he paused, they say the matriarch is on board. She wishes to inspect the human who has touched her daughter. The room went very quiet. Looked at, her face had gone through several emotions in the span of a second. Fear, anger, resignation, and underneath it all, something that looked almost like hope. My mother is coming, she said softly. Is that bad? Asked. Let out a sound that might have been a laugh if it had not sounded so painful. My mother has killed more beings than you have ever met, she said. She has ruled for 200 years because no one has been strong enough to take the throne from her. She is the most dangerous creature in the known galaxy. She looked at, and her eyes held genuine worry. And now she is coming here to decide whether you are worthy of me, or whether you should be removed. Removed, repeated. You mean killed. I mean removed. His tail curled around his wrist, warm and tight. I will not let her harm you, but you must understand, human. What happens next will not be easy. My mother will test you. She will push you. She will try to make you break. And if I break? Was silent for a moment. Then I will lose you, she said quietly, and I have only just found you. Ambassador stepped forward. Commander, you don't have to do this. We can try to negotiate. We can. Can you stop a matriarch from doing what she wants? Asked. Hesitated. That was answer enough. Took a deep breath. He looked at this alien woman who had claimed him, who had turned his life upside down in a single moment. He thought about the way she had talked about being touched. about how no one had ever been kind to her without wanting something. Maybe this was crazy. Maybe this was the dumbest thing he had ever done. But something in him, something deep and stubborn, refused to let fear make his choices. "Okay," he said, "let's meet your mother." His ears perked up. Her tail tightened around his wrist. "You are either very brave or very stupid," she said. "Probably both," admitted. For the first time since he had met her, smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it transformed her face from predator to something else, something almost beautiful. "I think," she said slowly, "that I may have chosen well." Outside the window, the stars shifted as a massive ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The Crimson Fang had arrived, and with it came the most dangerous mother-in-law in the galaxy. Wondered if it was too late to go back to those boring trade negotiations. Matriarch was not what it expected. She was bigger than, standing nearly 7 feet tall when she rose to her full height. Her fur was silver gray, marked with scars that told stories of battles won over centuries. Her eyes were the same amber gold as her daughter's, but colder, harder. She walked into the grand reception hall of Nexus Station like she owned it. Behind her came 20 warriors, each one carrying enough weapons to start a small war. The other aliens in the station, scattered like mice before a hawk, stood at the center of the hall with beside him. Ambassador and a small group of human officials stood nearby, but they seemed very far away. Everything seemed very far away except for the ancient predator walking toward him. Stopped 3 feet from. She looked down at him the way a scientist might look at an interesting insect. "This is the creature that touched my daughter," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Matriarch answered. Small walked in a slow circle around, examining him from every angle. Soft, no claws, no fangs. His eyes are on the front of his head like a predator, but his body is that of prey. She completed her circle and stood facing him again. "Tell me, human, why should I not tear you apart where you stand?" His heart was pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat, but he kept his voice steady. "Because your daughter has claimed me," he said, "and I believe that means something to your people." His eyes narrowed. "It means something, it does not mean everything." She leaned closer. "Claims can be broken, mates can be replaced. If you are unworthy, my daughter will recover in time." "Mother," said, and there was a warning in her voice. Ignored her. She continued to stare at, and he forced himself to stare back. He did not know much about culture, but he knew predators. He had grown up on a colony world full of dangerous animals. You never showed fear. You never looked away. "You have courage," admitted, "or stupidity. Sometimes they look the same." She tilted her head. "Tell me about this touching. Tell me what you were thinking when you put your hands on my daughter." Took a breath. "I was thinking that she was beautiful. I was thinking that she reminded me of home. I was tired and lonely, and I saw something soft and warm in a sunbeam, and I wanted to be close to it." He paused. "I wasn't thinking about politics or power. I wasn't thinking about anything except that moment." Humans touch their companion creatures this way. Yes, we call it petting. It's how we show affection. It's how we bond. Made a sound deep in her throat. Bonding through touch, through gentle contact, she seemed to struggle with the concept, through kindness. "Yes." The matriarch was silent for a long moment. Then, without warning, she moved. Her hand struck across the face. She had retracted her claws, but the blow was still powerful enough to knock him sideways. He stumbled, caught himself, felt blood running from his split lip. The human officials shouted. Weapons were grabbed. The warriors tensed, ready to fight. "Mother," Snarled, stepping forward. Held up a hand, and everyone froze. Straightened slowly. His face throbbed with pain. His lip was bleeding heavily, but he did not wipe the blood away. He did not look down. He met's eyes again and stayed silent. The matriarch watched him with something that might have been curiosity. "You do not attack," she observed. "You do not flee, you do not even complain." shrugged, trying to ignore the pain. Is that how greet their daughters chosen? Because humans usually just shake hands. A ripple went through the room. The warriors exchanged glances, even looked surprised. Stared at for a long moment, then she laughed. The sound was deep and rumbling, filling the entire hall. It was not a cruel laugh or a mocking laugh. It was genuine amusement, the kind that comes from being truly surprised. "Spine," she said when she stopped laughing. "You have spine, little human. You bleed, but you do not break. You face a creature who could kill you with one hand and you make jokes." She turned to. "Perhaps you have not chosen poorly after all." His ears perked up. "Then you accept him." "I did not say that." His humor faded. "A moment of courage means nothing. Words mean nothing. Only actions prove worth." She looked at again. "You wish to be my daughter's mate. You wish to be part of a pack. Then you must prove yourself in the traditional way." Felt his stomach tighten. "What way?" "The hunt," smiled, showing all her fangs. "You will be taken to Prime Hour. You will be released into the proving grounds, and my daughter will hunt you." The hall went silent, heard someone gasp behind him. "If you survive until dawn, the claim is validated. You will be recognized as mate by all, everywhere. No one will ever question your place at her side." "And if I don't survive?" Smile did not change. "Then you were never worthy to begin with." Ambassador stepped forward. "Matriarch, this is unreasonable. Commander is a diplomat, not a warrior. He has no training for." "He should have thought of that before he touched my daughter. Did not even look at her. This is law. It has been our way for 10,000 years. It is not negotiable." Looked at, her face was complicated. He could see fear there and worry and something else. Pride, maybe, or hope. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "I could release you, I could." "No," the word came out before could think about it. "I won't let you do that. You could die." "I know." He reached out and touched her hand, ignoring the sharp intake of breath from the warriors. "But you said that no one has ever touched you with kindness. You said that my touch meant something to you. If I run away now, what does that say about me? What does that tell you about humans?" Stared at him. Her golden eyes were wide. "We're not the strongest species," continued. "We're not the fastest or the toughest, but we don't give up. We don't abandon people who matter to us. And you," he squeezed her hand, "you matter to me. I don't know why yet, but you do." For a long moment did not speak. Then her tail curled around his wrist again, warm and tight. "You are the strangest creature I have ever met," she whispered. "Is that a good thing?" "I think it might be." Turned to face. The matriarch was watching them with an expression he could not read. "I accept," he said. "I'll do your hunt, I'll prove myself." Nodded slowly. "Very well, you have 1 day to prepare, then we leave for Prime." She looked at her daughter. "Hunt well, child, I will be watching." She turned and walked out of the hall, her warriors following behind her. Let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. His lip was still bleeding. His hands were shaking, but he was alive and he had a chance. Turned to face him. Her expression was serious. "You should know something," she said. "I have been a huntress for 80 years. I have never failed to catch my prey." Swallowed hard. "Never." "Never." Her claws extended slightly, glinting in the light. "When we meet in the proving grounds, I will hunt you with everything I have. I must. It is the law. I cannot hold back even if I want to." "I understand." She stepped closer, so close he could feel her breath on his wounded lip. "Do not die," she said softly. "I have not finished learning about you yet." Then she turned and followed her mother, leaving alone with his fear and his stubborn human determination. One night, one hunt, one chance to prove that humans were more than soft, small creatures who petted predators. Hoped that would be enough. Prime was trying to kill before the hunt even started. The gravity was stronger than Earth's, pulling at his body with every step. The air was thick and hot, filled with smells he could not name. The jungle around him was dense, dark, and full of sounds that made his skin crawl. They had dropped him at the edge of the proving grounds with a small survival kit and nothing else. No weapons, no communication device, no map, just a bag with water, basic medical supplies, and a few tools that they considered too primitive to matter. "You have until dawn," the pilot had said. "Survive." Then the ship had lifted off and vanished into the purple sky. Stood alone in the alien jungle and tried not to panic. The first hour was the worst. Every shadow looked like a predator. Every sound made him jump. He kept imagining behind him, moving through the trees like smoke, ready to pounce. But she would not come immediately. The rules gave him a head start of 3 hours. That was tradition. That was fairness. Use the time to think. He could not outrun her. They were faster, stronger, and built for hunting. They could see in the dark and track by scent. In a straight chase, he would lose in minutes. But humans had not survived on Earth by being the fastest or the strongest. They had survived by being smart, by being patient, by being stubborn. He started moving, not running but walking carefully. He studied the ground as he went, looking for anything useful. He found a stream and followed it for a while, then left it at an angle. He backtracked, walked in circles, doubled over his own trail. He found a place where the ground was soft and muddy. He walked through it, leaving clear footprints, then climbed a tree and moved through the branches for 50 meters before dropping down on hard rock that held no prints. He found plants with strong smells and crushed them on his clothes, his skin, his hair. He rolled in mud that stank of sulfur. He did everything he could think of to confuse his trail. 3 hours passed, then 4, then 5. Found a small cave in a rocky hillside. It was barely big enough for him to squeeze into, with only one entrance. A predator would have to come at him head-on to reach him. He rested there, drinking water, eating a small ration bar from his kit. His body ached from the heavy gravity. His lungs burned from the thick air, but he was still alive. He thought about, right now she was out there in the darkness hunting him. Did she want to catch him? Part of him thought yes. The hunt was in her blood, in her bones. She was a predator and he was prey. But another part of him remembered the way she had looked at him, the way she had said his name, the way her tail had curled around his wrist like she was afraid he would disappear. She did not want to lose him. She had said so herself. Left the cave and kept moving. The night went on forever. Twice he heard something large moving through the trees nearby. Once he saw eyes reflecting in the darkness, amber and gold, watching him before vanishing. He did not know if it was or some other predator. He kept walking, kept hiding, kept laying false trails. Near what he guessed was midnight, he found her trail instead. She was not trying to hide. Why would she? She was the hunter, not the prey. He saw the places where her claws had dug into tree bark as she climbed. He found a patch of disturbed ground where she had stopped to test the air. And he noticed something interesting. Every time her trail reached water, it paused, circled, avoided. Did not like water. Filed that information away and kept moving. Hours passed. His legs were shaking with exhaustion. The gravity never stopped pulling at him. Every step felt like walking through thick honey. But he did not stop. Humans were persistent hunters. Back on Earth, before technology, his ancestors had chased prey across open grasslands for hours, for days. They could not run fast, but they could keep going long after other animals collapsed from exhaustion. Was not fast, but he was stubborn, and he was not going to give up. The sky began to lighten. Dawn was coming. Found a clearing on top of a small hill. From here, he could see the jungle spreading out below him, dark and endless. He could see the horizon, where the first hints of purple and orange were starting to show. He was so close. You are full of surprises, human. Spun around. stood at the edge of the clearing, her black fur blending with the shadows. Her eyes glowed in the darkness. Her claws were extended. She was breathing hard, and there was something in her expression that had never seen before. Frustration, respect, excitement. "I found your trail a dozen times," she said, walking slowly toward him. "And every time it disappeared. You walked through water, you climbed trees, you covered yourself in filth that burned my nose." She shook her head. "No prey has ever evaded me this long." "I'm not prey," he said. His voice was hoarse from exhaustion. "No," she stopped a few feet away from him. "You are not, I see that now." Looked at the horizon. The light was growing stronger. Dawn was minutes away, if he could just hold her off a little longer. Saw where he was looking. "You could run," she said. "You could try to keep me talking until the sun rises. It might work." "Would it?" She smiled, showing her fangs. "No, I am faster than you. If you run, I will catch you before you take 10 steps." His heart sank. He was so close, so close. But he could see the truth in her eyes. She was not lying. He had used every trick he knew, and it had brought him to this moment. But the hunt was not over. He was still prey, and she was still the hunter. He thought about running anyway. He thought about fighting, though he knew he could not win. He thought about begging for mercy. Then he thought about what it said about being touched with kindness, about how no one had ever wanted just to give her comfort. Stopped thinking about running. "Okay," he said. He sat down on the grass and looked up at her. "Then catch me." His ears flattened with confusion. "What are you doing?" "I'm tired of running." He met her eyes, seeing the predator and the woman underneath. "If you're going to catch me, do it. I won't fight. I won't beg, but I want you to know something first." She crouched in front of him, her tail swaying uncertainly. "What?" "I'm not afraid of you." He reached out slowly, carefully, and touched her face. She froze at the contact. "I was never afraid of you. Back on the station, when I touched you, I didn't see a predator. I saw something beautiful, something that looked like it needed kindness." His breath caught. Her purring started, deep and rumbling. "And now," continued, "after all this, after running all night, after facing your mother, after everything, I still just see something beautiful. You can catch me. You can pin me down. You can do whatever your law requires. But you can't make me afraid of you. You can't make me regret that first touch." He dropped his hand. "So go ahead, end the hunt." Stared at him. The sky was getting lighter. Dawn was almost here. She moved fast as lightning. Back hit the ground. Her weight pressed down on him, her claws on his shoulders, her face inches from his. Just like before, just like the first time. But this time when she spoke, her voice was different, softer, wondering. "You impossible creature," she whispered. Her purr was so loud he could feel it in his bones. "You have ruined me for all other hunts." The sun broke over the horizon. Golden light spilled across the clearing, across their bodies tangled together in the grass. Dawn said weakly, "I survived." "No," pressed her forehead against his. "We survived together." She did not move. She did not let him go. "The hunt is over," she said loudly, speaking to the drones that now noticed hovering at the edge of the clearing. "He is mine, now and always. Let no one challenge this claim." Far away on the Crimson Fang, Matriarch watched the footage and smiled. This human had done more than survive. He had made her daughter happy. He had shown courage and cleverness and something else that they rarely saw in other species. Kindness given freely, without expecting anything in return. Perhaps, she thought, these humans were worth knowing after all. 6 months had passed since the hunt, and his life was nothing like it used to be. He woke up in a room on Prime, in a building made of dark stone and warm wood. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, and wrapped around him like a living blanket, purring in her sleep, was. Her tail was curled around his leg. Her arm was draped across his chest. Even asleep, she held him like she was afraid he would disappear. Smiled and scratched behind her ear. She made a small happy sound and pressed closer. "Wake up," he said softly. "We have meetings today." "No," her voice was muffled against his shoulder. "Stay, sleep, mine. Your mother is expecting us." One amber eye opened. "My mother can wait." Laughed. After 6 months, he was finally getting used to possessiveness. It had been strange at first, having someone who wanted to be with him all the time, who growled at anyone who got too close, who announced to every room they entered that he was hers. But he had learned to see it for what it was, not control, not ownership, love shown in the way her people understood it. And she had learned too. She no longer pinned him without warning. She asked before touching him in public. She had even learned to enjoy human movies, though she complained that the predators always lost. They had changed each other. They were still changing. The meeting was in the great hall of the matriarch's palace, walked beside, wearing clothes that mixed human and style. He had gotten used to the heavy gravity over the months. He no longer felt like he was walking through water. Sat on her throne at the head of the room. Around her stood advisors, warriors, and diplomats from a dozen species. Ambassador was there, representing humanity. She nodded as he entered. A lot had changed in 6 months. And Bond had become famous across the galaxy. A human and a princess, joined by an accident and held together by choice. Some species thought it was ridiculous. Others thought it was dangerous. But many found it interesting. They had always been feared. They were predators, warriors, conquerors. Other species either avoided them or submitted to them. No one had ever tried to understand them. But humans were different. Humans were pack bonders, relationship builders, bridge makers. And through his kindness and his stubbornness and his refusal to be afraid, the galaxy had seen a new side of them. They were not just predators. They were people who valued loyalty, who protected what was theirs, who could love fiercely and completely when given the chance. The matriarch had seen opportunity in this. She was old and wise, and she understood that the galaxy was changing. They could not conquer forever. Eventually, they would need allies. So she had proposed something new, an alliance between the Empire and the Human Federation, not conquest, not submission, partnership. The negotiations had taken months. There were arguments and setbacks and moments when it seemed like everything would fall apart. But they had kept talking, kept trying, kept believing that two very different species could find common ground. Today, they would sign the final agreement. "We are gathered here to witness something new," said, her voice carrying through the hall. "For 10,000 years they have stood alone. We have been hunters, warriors, conquerors. We have taken what we wanted and destroyed what threatened us." She paused, looking at. "But the galaxy is vast, and even the greatest hunter cannot hunt forever. There comes a time to find new paths, new allies, new family." His hand found, her claws pressed gently against his palm. "My daughter chose a human," continued. "At first I thought it was a mistake. Humans are soft, they are weak, they cannot fight as we fight." His expression tightened, but she stayed silent. "But I was wrong," smiled, showing her fangs. "Humans are not weak. They are strong in ways we do not understand. They bond with anything. They love without conditions. They face death with jokes and stubborn courage." She looked at. "They pet predators and call it affection." A ripple of laughter went through the room. "Today we join our peoples together. The hunters and the pack bonders. The predators and the kindness givers. Together, we will be stronger than either of us alone." The documents were brought forward. Signed first, her claws leaving deep marks in the paper. Then signed, her human pen looking small and fragile next to the matriarch's marks. It was done. The alliance was real. Cheers filled the hall, roared. Humans clapped. Other species added their own sounds of celebration. Felt's arm wrapped around his waist. "You changed everything," she said quietly. "You know that, right? I just scratched a cat in a sunbeam. You did more than that." She turned him to face her. You showed us that strength is not the only thing that matters, that kindness can be a kind of strength too. Her tail curled around him possessively. You showed me that I was worth being kind to. Reached up and cupped her face. You were always worth it, you just needed someone stupid enough to show you. She laughed, a purring sound that he had grown to love. After the ceremony, there was a celebration. Food and drink and music filled the palace. Found himself surrounded by aliens who wanted to shake his hand, touch his shoulder, hear the story of how he had survived the hunt. He told the story so many times that his voice went hoarse. Late in the evening, a message came through the communication systems, a distress call from the outer rim of the galaxy. Ships were being attacked, colonies were disappearing, something was coming. The Axiom Collective. They were a machine species, cold and logical and hungry. They harvested organic life to fuel their expansion. They had been creeping along the edges of known space for years, but now they were moving faster, growing bolder. Neither humans nor could stop them alone, but together. Within weeks, the war began. Found himself on the front lines, not as a diplomat but as something new, a bridge between two species, a symbol of what they were fighting for. He was not a warrior. He could not fight like who tore through machine soldiers like they were made of paper, but he could plan, he could coordinate, he could help humans and understand each other in the chaos of battle. The war was brutal. They lost ships, they lost worlds, they lost friends. But they did not lose hope. Humans brought technology and adaptation, brought ferocity and experience. Together, they developed new tactics, new weapons, new ways of fighting that the collective could not predict. The final battle happened above a world called Terminus, the last line of defense before the collective reached the core systems. Thousands of ships clashed in the darkness between stars. Was on the command ship when it was boarded. Machine soldiers poured through the corridors, cold and relentless. He fought alongside, using a weapon she had taught him to use. He was not skilled, not graceful, but he did not run. He stood beside his mate and fought for the people he loved. When the battle was over, when the collective fleet was broken and retreating, sat in the wreckage of the corridor and tried to remember how to breathe. Found him there. She was covered in oil and blood, her fur matted, her claws chipped, but she was alive. You fought well, she said, settling beside him, for a soft creature. Learned from the best. He reached up and scratched behind her ear. She pinned him immediately, her weight pressing him into the deck, her purr vibrating through both of them. Still mine, she growled. Still yours, he agreed. They lay there together as the victory celebrations began around them. They did not move. They did not need to. Years passed, the galaxy healed, new alliances formed, humans and became close partners, their differences becoming strengths instead of barriers. And on Prime, in the palace of the matriarch, a child took her first steps. She was small for her fur was dark like her mother's but softer. Her eyes were amber with flecks of brown. She had tiny claws that she had not learned to control yet, and a tail that knocked things over when she got excited. She was impossible. Every scientist had said that humans and could not have children together. The biology was too different. The genetics did not match. But she existed anyway, stubborn and impossible and wonderful, proof that the universe did not always follow the rules. Watched his daughter chase a sunbeam across the floor. Sat beside him, her tail wrapped around his waist, her purr filling the room. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I'm thinking about that day on Nexus Station, when I saw you in the sunbeam and decided to pet you. The thing you ever did. The best thing I ever did." He leaned against her. "If I hadn't done it, none of this would exist. The alliance, the victory, her." Their daughter caught the sunbeam and pounced on it, then looked up with confusion when she could not hold it in her tiny claws. Spur grew louder. Perhaps stupidity is another form of human strength. We prefer to call it optimism. She turned and pressed her forehead against his, the gesture of deep affection. I love you, my mate, my claimed, my impossible human. I love you too, he kissed her nose, my beautiful predator who sleeps in sunbeams. Their daughter toddled over and climbed into his lap, demanding attention. He scratched behind her ears and she purred just like her mother. The galaxy watched, uncertain and amazed. Humanity had done what it always did. It had reached out with kindness, made friends with predators, built bridges across impossible gaps. And in doing so, it had made a family.